Proverbs, challenge by resources by Renae. Generational wisdom.
Good evening. Welcome back to our Proverbs Challenge, Generational Wisdom. And as you see, we have a lot of wisdom with us today, and I'm grateful for that. We're going to share chapter 7. We are on day 7, and I'm sure you're joining in with us every day. And I know you're going to be blessed with today's episode of Proverbs Challenge. So I'm going to ask these wonderful young men to go ahead and share a little bit about yourself. We'll start with you, Terry.
So my name is Terry Bryant. I am west of 50. I won't say how far west, just slightly west of 50.
Yes.
I am a father of 4, 30-year-old, a 26-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 3-year-old. I have
Wonderful.
4 grandkids, and it is very much pleasure of being here.
That's
with you.
awesome. I love to hear you got a lot of wisdom you got to share. Man. That's awesome. Mr. Fred in the house.
Good afternoon. I'm Fredrick Dillard Jr., and I'm really west of 60. I'm closer to 70. Actually, I'm 67. I've been married for 27 years. I have 4 kids, 3 boys, a daughter, and 1 grandson. And I am elated to be here to share some of my life experiences.
This is great. This is great. I hear the up north coming right out. Daughter. I heard that. Love it. I love it. And young man.
All right, I'm Maurice Berry. I've been married this February, actually coming will be 20 years married.
Wow.
I spent about 21 years in the military, so a lot of experience from dealing with a marriage in that environment. I have 2 kids, an 18-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. And I'm glad for the opportunity to be here. I praise God for that.
And I thank you all for being here, men of God. And we're going to dive right into chapter 7. I'm going to start with Terry first. If you can tell me, why did you choose Proverbs chapter 7?
So one of the things that attracted me about Proverbs 7 is it's really a culmination of the second half of chapter 6. Which talks about the temptations of adultery and the things out there. And a lot of things that I've seen, especially in social media, you've got this thing about the hookup culture, having sugar daddies, cougars, sugar mamas, sites like Ashley Madison where people can hook up, and having affairs thinking it's secret, and it's not. It will eventually come to the light. And a lot of people just feel that it's okay to have somebody on the side and it doesn't hurt anybody. Yeah, it does. And I think a lot of the younger people and even some older people that need to understand that, this is something that really can affect, not just your personal life, but your spiritual life.
Amen. Absolutely. Absolutely. I loved how you said that. What we were talking about in other chapters about what you do behind closed doors, and one thing I always say, what you do in the dark is definitely going to come out in the light somewhere or the other. Mr. Fred, what resonated with you in chapter 7?
Wow. When I thought about chapter 7, it actually made me think about my wife and I. When I say my wife and I, we met on the job.
Okay.
And being married on the job and folk know that you're married, you can run into a lot of situations. So being married on the job, you have to realize that, what I realized is that a lot of folk, I shouldn't say a lot of folk, but men really didn't want Tracy. And a lot of women, I shouldn't say a lot of women, but women really didn't want me per se.
Okay.
They just wanted to put a wedge in between the relationship.
Wow.
Because, we were happy, enjoying each other, and some folk, I guess, felt that, let me see if I can put a wedge in and see just how strong this thing is.
Wow.
So when I read that, that's what made me think of all the situations that we went through. And the thing about my wife and I, we're able to talk about everything. And so, real quick, I would tell her, I had supposed to be a good friend of mine. We had the job. He would give me that and say, "Okay, Fred, I'll see you later, man, because I'm getting ready to go make a run." I hadn't even got to the door yet. And he give me that, and he asked my wife, Tracy, he says, "Can I take you to breakfast? But don't tell Fred." Right? I'm like, wow. But I had already told her a while back, I said, "I think that's quite sweet on you." And him not knowing that we talk about everything.
Right.
When I say we talk about everything, she knew that I wasn't going to just run up on him, because it takes two.
Right.
So, but that's just to show you how it is, young and old folk. You have folk that really don't want you. They just want to see it's the game of trying to get you or destroy your relationship.
Is that something that people just thrive on, just to see? What do you think? Why do people do that? Because we see that even on social media, that they'll just start stuff. Why do you think that happens?
And in some cases, I think I want to say it's a game, but it's a challenge,
right,
to some folk,
right,
to see, well, let me see just how strong this relationship is. Let me see if I ask her to go to breakfast with me. Will she do it? And then, go take it to the next step. But it didn't work, because the main thing with relationships, guys, you got to have communication.
Absolutely.
My wife is my best friend. We can talk about absolutely anything.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And sometimes just having the the jewelry on,
That's interesting that you brought that up. I told my oldest son, I said, before he got married, I said, listen, he used to always say, nobody wants me, nobody wants. I said, listen, the minute you get that wedding band on, I said, it's just gonna be just like with Green Lantern. When he holds that ring up, it's gonna attract people to you.
I tell you.
And I've been married twice. I was married 22 years before my first wife passed, and now going on 8 years with my current wife, Faith. So with my first wife, it wasn't even a month. We were living in near Augusta, Georgia, and we were at Sears. And for younger people, if you don't know what Sears is, a department store. And Google it up, Sears and Roebuck.
Target nowadays?
No, much bigger.
Much bigger. Okay.
Much bigger,
Okay.
more stuff. And I was in the electronics, and my father taught me to keep your head on a swivel. Always situational awareness, make sure.
Right.
And halfway across the store, I saw this woman. And something just checked. It was like, something not right about her. Okay. So as I slowly started walking around, I started seeing her slowly move closer and closer. I was like, she's hunting me. So after about 10 minutes, so she went from about being 50 feet away till she's the next aisle over from me. And just as she was about to come, and I'm moving just to make sure in different locations,
To
make
test-
sure,
to
just
test
check
it.
to make sure. And sure enough, my wife came around the corner. Just as she came around the corner, and she saw my wife, and she turned right back around and went on back out. And that just kind of resonated with me. I was like, she was going to come test me. She was going to try me to see,
Right.
okay,
Right.
if I actually was going to be interested in her.
Right. It's a game, like
It is
Like
a game.
Mr.
For some
Frank
people, it is a
said.
game. It's sad. It really is.
that's crazy. And chapter 7. I know you got some notes.
Oh, I do.
Oh,
So I apologize.
What do you-
I looked down
No,
because
you're
that's
good. You're
took
good.
some notes.
We're family here. And we want to hear the truth. So
Okay.
and you have some wisdom. And what can you tell us about chapter 7 that was really resonating with you? And what could possibly be resonating with the young people too? Could it be the same? And let's go there.
Well, to start it off, just to break down how I interpreted and what I saw come from this, there's just a few things that stood out. The first part was, and we mentioned it earlier, is the word,
Mm-hmm.
keeping the word. It says it's talking Solomon to his son, but you
Mm-hmm.
know, keeping the word of the Lord and His commandments.
Right.
He goes on and he talks about this young man that he sees. Another thing we discussed a little earlier was everything in the dark coming to the light.
Right.
You know, there is nothing that is secret that won't be revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So we see that when he saw the young man, you know, from his window.
Right.
It also posed a couple questions to me, and I think something that was highlighted was when he was going down the path to this woman's house. He knew where he was going. He knew what he was doing.
That's good.
So the perchance encounter that he was about to have, whether he knew she would be lurking where she was or not, he was already headed in the direction to sin.
Mm-hmm. So he made a choice.
He made a choice.
He made a choice.
He made a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So a few things that stood out additionally in there. What led him to this point? Because he didn't immediately just wake up one day and he was headed down this path to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Where did he compromise? What area of his life? Because sin doesn't always just directly, just the enemy doesn't just throw it on us. There's a little bit of compromise that happens before we get to a full blown area of committing adultery or fornication.
Right.
The lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. What did you let in that you did not stop with the word, that you didn't rebuke, that you allowed into your spirit, that led you? Because it said once the desires, you're led away on your own desires in the word, and when desire conceives, it gives birth to sin.
Right.
When sin is full grown, it leads to death.
Right.
And if we read further on in this chapter, it says he did not know that it would cost his life. So that stood out to me. And
that's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because the choices we make, you know, will have consequences.
Exactly.
Whether they're good or they're bad.
Exactly.
And he did make a choice. And we've all been there. And I love even the first chapter, the first verse said, keep my words and my treasure, my commandments within you. Mm-hmm. So it's readily available. You know, when you were growing up, Mr. Fred, tell me about how you were able to, and, you know, make sure you're making the right choices. Did you have people that were constantly looking over you, like as far as a mentorship? You know, who was there to help you make sure? And who did? Because my sons were like, I hear your voice all the time when I'm about to do something. I said, hopefully you're hearing the Lord's voice. But sometimes it is, you make an impact on people. And did you have someone that was always there to say, okay, make sure you're going down this right path?
I got to say it's my mother. Oh my goodness, it was Mom. I guess the way I am today, as far as with women or you know ladies and teaching my daughter, is that I always looked at my mom and I knew how she really wanted to be treated, how she really wanted my father to treat her. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that he was treating her the way she wanted to be treated. So that made me the way I am. It made me, I'm going to treat my mom and other women the way I know she wanted to be treated.
That's so good.
She wanted people open up the door for her and everything. Mm-hmm. She wanted to go on family trips. So when I grew up, and still keeping that in mind, I've always took my boys on family trips. And as far as Tracy, I told my boys that don't let my wife touch that door handle. You open that door for her. So they run and they open up that door for her. So, you know, I instilled that in her. And I learned from what I know today from my mom.
That's good. From
how I knew how she really wanted to be treated.
That's good.
What type of family she had. So that's the way I am.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anybody that resonated with you, or like who was your mentorship, who was making sure that you stayed focused on the right path?
So I'm a situation where I could say train the child up in a way they should go, and when they're old, they won't depart, because I started out a born again youth. I left for many years. I counted, I think it was over 20 something years, and recently came back. My parents have always, through that time, been praying for me. my father always had words of wisdom. My mother always, Jesus, Jesus loves you.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to them recently. We're actually getting to go visit them for the holiday, and they told me, they was like, when I told them, and it wasn't just me coming back, me, my wife, my children. I found out my sister, my nephew, like her prayers for over 20 something years were all answered.
That's awesome.
But it was a testimony. It was something that she said her heart leaped when I told her, like, hey, we gave our lives back to Jesus. And I always knew it. I always knew because I learned it, I heard it, but they would always tell me, even when I didn't want to hear it, my father would give me scriptural advice, and it was, you would think it go in one ear and out the other.
Right.
It sticks.
Oh yeah, it sticks. It absolutely sticks. Like I was telling you before, we would do a proverb a day before we go to school, and now to this day they feel like they got to wake up and do the same thing. Just parents, when you think that they're not listening, they're listening. Keep planting those seeds. Keep planting those seeds. So it's very important. So I want to hear from each one of you some practical things that our young people can do to make sure that we're not going down that right path. We talked a little bit about fornication and things like that, and it's obviously it's in here about treating your wives right. Adultery is in here. This chapter is heavily, actually it's the last 5, 6, and 7 talks a little bit about that. But we want to make sure that they're not, because it does lead to sin, and it does not only just sin, but it causes death, and it may not be physical death, right? It leads to.
I'm not gonna say that.
Okay, well let's hear what you have to.
I'm
Because
not gonna say that.
I think too, and this is great dialogue, because their mind, it takes away, and I see it now with the young people. They get into this stuff, and then their mind's not clear. They can't even focus. They can't make right decisions. They're just existing. So.
Well, the reason why I say I'm not going to say that is because I had a relative that actually did die
Okay.
because of adultery.
Right.
Happily married and met a lady, and because of his occupation, he traveled a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And this lady picked him up with 3 other individuals, and they shot him from here to here 21 times and dumped his body out in the streets of New York and left him for dead. But he was able to survive a 12-hour operation, 12 hours later, be able to tell the police what happened before he expired. So the whole story got out. Now, it took a while because, of course, it was supposed to be a business trip, and it was a trip, but it ended up being his last trip.
Wow.
So, and that happened when I was very young. And when I say very young, I was like 9 or 10 when that whole thing occurred. And it has stuck with me my entire life. So here was a situation where you read about where in Proverbs, where it took this young man's life, and in my actual world, it actually happened.
Right.
I know someone who actually died. Now, it was for insurance purposes, but good thing is they didn't get anything, but neither did my relative's wife.
No.
Because this was in the late 70s, early 80s. Laws are a whole different now. But it can cost you. So that, for me, that was one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, you want to go down that path, but here's a situation. So when I'm in situations with younger people, I tell that story, and I let them know, hey, man, woman, it doesn't matter, because you have men trying to do that to women to get them hooked, just like women are trying to get men.
Right.
So it does not matter what gender you are. There's somebody at the opposite that will try to get you hooked.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really near and dear to my heart, because one of the practical things that you can do is you have to have that mindset of, I don't care what another person says to me. As Fred said, it takes 2 to tango. If you don't dance, ain't no tango happening because you can't tango by yourself.
Right.
It takes two. You remove yourself from that situation, you can cut them off because you'd be surprised. It's why, as scripture says, if you resist the devil, he will flee.
Yes.
You have to resist.
Right.
Even in the Lord's Prayer, it says, lead us not into temptation.
Right.
He's not going to lead us into temptation. But if you get tempted, he will deliver you from
Yes, he
evil
will.
if you resist.
Mhm.
So,
You know, my husband and I have this saying about keeping your windows and doors shut because it only just takes a little cracked window, a door. It could be like, "Ooh, you want some of this coffee? I brought you your favorite coffee. I know you like that." That's a window. That's a crack in that window. So it's so important to recognize that because those temptations will come. And you have to recognize when it's like, okay, I don't want your coffee. You see, I don't want your donut. It's okay. I already ate. You know, you got to shut it down because so much with social media, you got messages, you got emails, you got all kinds of, you know, even if it was just and I'll use us as an example. We group text, right?
Yeah.
We group text. If I have to talk to Terry, Faith is in that group text with me. My husband's in the group text because we just don't want none of it.
Exactly.
Right? So what are some other good examples that you would give to people, whether they're married, you know, whether young people, this to know? Because I'm going to tell you, I've talked to some young people and they don't see a problem talking to married men, but just without, you know, any reservation and just like, oh, I'll call you, I'll text you. I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
shut it down. So what would you say to that?
Well, you know, first of all, I would tell you that I tell my boys would tell you, my kids would tell you that I tell them I prayed for your mother.
Mm,
When I say I prayed for her to be in my life. I really wanted someone special like her in my life.
right.
And when it comes to being married, what I tell younger folk or folk that getting ready to get married is that being married is it's like you're a farmer. So you got with somebody that you feel you know you love and you can work with. But folk they I make them look at it like this. When you go to the grocery store, you see a big, pretty, round apple and oranges look so beautiful, and you see this apple, but what you don't see is the work that the farmer had to put into this thing to make
That's
this thing
good.
work. So when I say that, you don't see when the farmer is out there, it's 100 degrees outside, he has to water this oranges crop. When it's cold, he has to do things, try to keep his fruit warm from freezing up. You don't see when he's out there fertilizing that stuff.
Right.
So I say that to say, marriage takes work.
Right. Right.
So you have to put the time in, and when you put the time in, what people are seeing, as far as me and Tracy, they're seeing this pretty round orange, this nice round apple. But what they aren't seeing is the work that we both are putting in
Right. That's good.
to each other
good.
to make this fruit look the way it does. You know, and when you do that, man, being married is a beautiful thing.
Right. And then the
It's a beautiful
temptations that come, you're not even, you know, if there were.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no.
Well, no, then you have to look at, okay, if you do this, there's consequences for it.
Consequences.
You know, if I go out and do something like this, man, all that I have built, it's gone.
Exactly.
Like that.
Like that.
Just like that. And it took me
And is it
years to
worth
get
that?
to get this orange like it is, beautiful.
Exactly.
And then just like that, it's gone. So, you
Exactly.
know, I keep that in mind, and I try to instill that to my kids.
That's good. That's good. I never looked at it like that. That's really good. Temptations come in the way. What would you share?
So I'm glad that the subject of temptation came up. I know that's mainly what this chapter is about. When I looked in here, I saw the temptation, but I also saw between the lines, the conviction and correction. And that referred me back to the Holy Spirit, which Jesus sent as a helper and said he will convict the world of sin. Because I had to look at it, and I saw this young man and the woman. He went down the path. He met with the woman, but she still had to entice him. She still had to tell him all the good things he wanted to hear. You know, I laid my bed with this and this and whatnot. So it's like the enemy put right in front of his face what he wanted. And I see that a lot. What you like, you'll be tempted with it.
Right.
There's no sense in me being tempted with drugs if I don't have a drug problem. That's not a temptation
That's
to me.
good.
So
That's
whatever it is your weakness is, that's
Cheesecake.
that's the
Cheesecake.
that's the temptation you're gonna get. But with that temptation comes conviction. There's always that still small voice inside that is saying, you don't need to go here. You need to leave.
Right.
You don't need to do this, that, whatever it may be. We got to learn to listen to that voice
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and fall back on the word again.
Yeah.
I'm going to always go to the word because for me, when something comes up, I have to use the word. Jesus was tempted and he had to say, it is written.
Mm.
How much more do we need to get in this word and know how to respond to any temptation?
Right.
Even if I'm out by myself, something crosses my path. Let's say it's a lust of the eye situation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he's approved, he will receive the crown of life. Don't love the world, the things of the world, the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh. All these things are going to pass away. I got to come at it with something because,
Absolutely.
like I said, when he knew he was going down this path, I got to change my course.
That's good. That's
So-
good. And or even knowing someone. What about accountability partners?
Exactly.
What about that? Who can touch on that? Having an accountability partner. If you know that is your weakness,
Mm-hmm.
if you know, like if I'm like, I'll call Faith, like, girl, there's a cheesecake right here, and I'm trying to start this Weight Watchers. She'll be like, put it away, take a bite, and then go be done with it. Or accountability partners are so important.
Well, I'm gonna brag on Mr. Dillard right here
Okay.
next to me. Ever since I've met him, he's like an older brother for me.
That's good.
And there are times when I can call him up and like, what's going on? Just starting, he's like, okay, what's really going on?
Mm.
And I told him, then he'll just give that little drop of wisdom, look at it from just a slightly different point of view. I'm like, you know what? You're right. It ain't that bad. It ain't that serious. Or no, I understand. I don't have to choke nobody out for being crazy, because sometimes you can be so wrapped up in your situation
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
of the fact that you know what was wrong. If you were wronged, or the person that's coming at you is trying, and you're trying not to hurt their feelings, but sometimes you just need to hurt people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
If they coming at you because what I mean by hurting their feelings, it's
The truth.
they're trying to feel you.
Yeah.
They're trying to feel a part of you that is not meant to be felt.
Mm.
So you have to hurt that feeling.
That's
Let
good.
them know that they ain't not gonna get that feeling
Right.
ever. And Fred has been my accountability partner, and we'll talk about things, and I think it's more so he hold me accountable, me holding him, except for little things every once in a blue moon,
Mhm.
like not cutting his grass after he overdoes it the day before, and he wants to get out there in that yard and he needs the rest. But
Okay.
but that's the little the checks and balances.
Right.
I know that he loves working in the yard, but I also know if it's 100 degrees outside, you don't need to be doing that today. I know that weed will be okay. It'll be there tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You need to relax until it's 85.
Right.
Just using that as an example, but
Right.
the same thing. I enjoy doing certain things, and he has been there. So you have to
good.
find that person where you can trust to know when you share something, it's just gonna stay there.
Oh yeah.
Because
And not
trust,
yes you.
right?
Not sugarcoat it, and then
Right.
you need the truth. You need just hardcore. Just going, man. Look.
Because trust is so easily broken.
Oh yeah. 100%.
And once it's
Yeah.
broken, it's not easily regained.
And women are so easy to. We're communicators. We're just the criers. Men do not do that well. Oh, so sorry. Because it helps. It really does. But why not? I encourage it all the time for my husband. And he does. He has people he can go to.
I think it stems from, well, I guess my generation, but from going back, men aren't supposed to cry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're supposed to be tough,
Mm-hmm.
and we just would hold stuff in.
Right.
As well, women can get on the phone and they call their girlfriend. Guess what?
Mm-hmm.
Men hold it in, and that's why we get stressed a lot or whatever. But I got to say, nowadays, um, it really does my heart good to see men talking. Whenever I'm out and about, and I see men playing the father role with the kids, and that really makes me feel good.
Right.
Now, I think when I really started kind of opening up a little bit, and these guys I told them about it, I had an incident at work, and just so happened the church I was going to back in Maryland, we had really just started a men's group on Wednesday, and this is the first time that I really seen men stand up and talk about their situation. They were actually crying.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow.
Because
And
y'all can cry.
yeah, yeah. And so it's the first time I really seen that, and men opening up. So I got up and I opened up about what was going on, at the job or whatever. And from me doing that and speaking with other men and being in church, and it helped me through.
That's so good.
It helped me through.
That's
And that
so
was
good.
quite a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
because I was, woo,
Yeah.
I was really upset at the time, but being in that group really helped me out. So, like what Terry was saying, I just try to spread some of that knowledge and things around, because sometimes I think if you're a true friend, you're gonna tell them what the real deal is.
Absolutely.
No, man, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
You need to rethink it. That's no.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I try to do.
We need that. I surround myself with a lot of older ladies, and because I need that. I mean, correction is something that I welcome. If I'm doing, I said, check me.
Mhm.
And I want to hear if I'm not doing it right, or they bring me back to the word and say, this is what the word says. And I sometimes we need that, because we're not meant to do life alone. You'll hear me say this over and over. We're not. I don't know where I would be right now if I did not have the people that God has placed in my life, to be, from being a single mom to now being married for the second time. And, now I'm trying to be a leader in a community. I need that direction. I need the wisdom. I need correction, and you're going to learn. And that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to learn and to evolve. But as we wrap this up, I know you had a bunch of notes, so I don't want to.
No, they were in case we
You
talking
needed it.
points. That's what they were.
But I want you to be able to share some of those talking points as we close. If you had any closing words you want to share with the audience.
I guess keeping it relevant with a lot of what young people are facing. I know there's nothing new under the sun. However, in this day and age, things are a lot more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
They're available instant.
Mm-hmm.
Back in probably in the Bible in Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody knew about the city, and that city was destroyed. But the amount of things getting out there through social media or through that you're seeing outside when you walk out the doors it's just like I say it's in your face.
Right.
It's just right.
Is.
It's not hiding anymore. I've seen and heard a few times where people have like a social media account, and then they put on there, I'm taking a break from social media. Like, to me, it's are you putting yourself in a situation where you're gonna go down this path? Do you need to disconnect or take yourself out of that circumstance or situation? I'm not gonna go have wings at a place known to have scantily clad women and put myself in that circumstance. So if you're having issues with these social media sites, these hookup sites and all this stuff, maybe you need to pull yourself out of that circumstance, because it's already hard enough with the enemy coming at us with temptations and stuff like that you don't need to make it more convenient for him to access you and tempt you to sin. So look at those things in your life. I had to look at myself, even just as simple as, and I talked to my wife about it, what we were watching, and that was a conviction from the Holy Spirit. I had to listen, and it wasn't even connected with something I was praying about.
Right.
I was like, I don't see, Lord, how does that even make sense? That's not even connected with this. And he's like, well, I don't want you taking that into what I'm.
Wow, that's good.
So I had to really look at, what I was putting in my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And as the head of my household, what am I allowing into, the home that is
Right.
impacting their walk with Christ?
That's
So
really good. That's really good.
maybe take an account of your own personal standing and what have you been hearing from the Holy Spirit that you really need to address, that you're like, no, that's not,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a few times where I'm like, really, that don't, and I'm like, you know what, and when I did, I obeyed. It actually led to the next thing in the Lord.
Right. That's
So
good. Because it can be very subtle,
yes,
but God's ways are always higher than our ways, and He
exactly.
knows. I always say His ways are. It's so much better His way.
Hmm.
It's so much better
It
His
is.
way, and that sacrifice of saying, okay, you know what, I know where you're going to be bringing me. I don't know, but
Hmm.
I know it's some way I need to be in a alignment with the Word of God. So He knows. He knows. That's good.
You've been trying it your way all this time. Give him a chance.
Exactly.
You know.
Try. I know. And especially if you're not seeing that things are not going the way that you want them to go. You're just like, I don't understand why I just can't get out of. Well, there may be some things
Yeah.
because it's so the ear gates, the eye gates. I mean, it's like you said, it's in your face.
Yes.
It's in your face all the time. You just have to. Cartoons nowadays. I mean, you just see how these cartoons, like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to bombard the younger kids.
Yep.
So, Mr. Fred, closing words, advice, parents, grandparents, young people regarding this chapter 7.
Well, number one, you have to stay into the Lord. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it sounds cliche, but you really have to stay prayed up.
Mm-hmm.
You really do, because just like you guys says, it's right in your face, and it's not like it used to be years ago. We got social media.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, they wouldn't film Elvis below his waist.
Mm.
We're a long way from that. We're a long way from that. We're in the commercials where, as the young lady, when Tracy and I first saw the commercial with the young lady with the spray deodorant and where she was spraying, I couldn't believe it.
Right, right.
So,
because even the language now is just, they used to beep words out. We're not even doing that anymore. It's just going right out there. So things have changed a lot. I'm sure you have seen.
It's changed a lot. So what I would tell everyone is just remember, whatever you do in life, it can come back to bite you. So make sure you're making good decisions. And I always, my decision making is, always look at it as, if I do this, what's going to happen later on if I do this?
Right.
That's how I really do my decision
And that's
making.
wisdom.
I
That's
always
true
think of
wisdom.
it that way. If I do this, this might happen. Whether good or bad, that's the way I look at it.
That's good. That's good. All right, Mr. Terry, you brought your friends with you today. So what about this chapter? You can leave some advice and some good words of wisdom to close up today.
I think the best bit of advice that I could give to not just young men, but young ladies, anybody in a relationship is, one, temptation is always around. There's always going to be somebody that will try to tempt you. You just don't have to respond to that temptation. You can always say no. A friend of mine said, no is a complete statement. No is a full sentence, is a complete statement. You don't have to explain. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't want to go out with you. No, I don't want to do X, Y, Z. If you find yourself unknowingly in a situation going down the road, because unfortunately we can take innocent things and then realize we're in deep talk to somebody that you can trust and say, hey, I'm in a situation, I don't know how to get out.
Right.
And make sure it's someone that you know is looking out for your best interest, because there are some friends, and I say that with quotations, that, oh no, man, you need to go ahead and do that. No, girl, go ahead. That's not a real good friend. If they're telling you to go ahead and get that cheesecake when you know that you shouldn't have that cheesecake, you know that's not the person you need to go to if somebody come roll up on you.
And that's a very good point. You know what these friends are into. So why? You know, if you know that that's a weakness of yours, or you know that that's not where you should be, talking about the conviction, you know, be mindful of that. And no, I love that. I always say no is not a bad word.
No.
It's not a bad word. You can definitely go down the right path. And be careful of the people you're hanging with. Because if they're hanging and they're doing that stuff, listen, you're even going to be guilty by association.
True. If they're not willing to stop you from eating that piece of cheesecake,
Or eating it with you.
or eating it with you. You know,
I always say, if I meet someone, they're a foodie, I'm like, I can't chill with you. I can't. I just can't, because two foodies together,
but see,
it's like,
you can have a foodie friend, but that foodie friend can, if you say, listen, I'm not eating right now. I'm not eating this, and this for X amount of time. Okay, well, a true foodie friend's like, okay, if you telling me you're not eating starches, let's go someplace. Let's go to someplace that's
well, let's go
doesn't
take
have
a
a lot.
walk.
You know,
let's not eat.
I'm going to walk. But I'm just saying, we can go get some food elsewhere that's not, they're going to not put you in a situation where you have to be tempted.
Absolutely. This was all so good. I appreciate y'all. I'm sure you're looking, so I want to make sure. I don't want to leave anything out. I do appreciate y'all being here today. The words of wisdom. If anyone out there would like to get in touch with any of y'all to discuss, maybe spiritual daddies, brothers, brotherhood, how can they get in touch with y'all?
You can find me on Facebook under A Terry Bryant, and I'm not the Terry Bryant. I'm A Terry Bryant. I'm just one. Also, you could find me at Calvary Palm Coast on Sundays most of the time. All three services most of the time. First, second, and third. Yeah, all three. Sometimes I have to take a break and just do two.
Right.
But you can find me there. And if you're looking at this, she'll probably have me tagged. So just there you go.
We're gonna put you out there. Sorry.
That's all right.
And for you, how
same thing that that Terry said. Majority of the time we're at the Calvary Palm Coast.
Okay.
All three services.
Right.
I'm there.
Yeah.
What's it, Fred at CalvaryFL.com? Or did I say
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah. And contact me there.
Okay.
And I'm on Facebook as well. So
wonderful. And you?
I'm also at Calvary. I attend Palm Coast. Not always at all three services, but
it's all right.
I'm also on Facebook as well. Just you search Maurice Berry and you should be able to find me.
Okay,
So,
wonderful. Again, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Stay tuned for Chapter 8 tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.
We just want to thank you so much for tuning in for Chapter 7, Day 7 of the Proverbs Challenge. It is Keisha Hawkins here, and we heard from Fredrick, Maurice, and Mr. Terry about temptation, relationships, and just what it means to be, someone who's involved in adultery. And I love the transparency and the stories they shared, especially the one about that piece of cheesecake. Because I'm going to tell you, there's some food that I know I have no business eating. And wisdom tells me do not eat that because it's not going to help my health. It's not going to help my situation. But in my mind, it's something that I'm really going to like bread. I love bread. Cinnamon sticks, that's my thing, my weakness. My accountability partner is my husband. And sometimes I don't like it, but I'm thankful to have someone speak into my life to tell me that's not good for you. So if you do not have an accountability partner, please go get yourself one for this challenge. So hopefully you took some notes. There was something that resonated with you. Please comment on the video if there's something God has been speaking to you. And please like and subscribe at Resources by Renae. Please read up tomorrow for chapter 8, day 8 of the Proverbs Challenge, and we'll see you tomorrow.